everyone, welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories, the government of the Republic of Cameroon threatens to ban the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM political party of Professor Maurice Kamto after last weekend's strike action in Douala, Yaoundé, Bafoussam, Banjul, Buda, and of course other parts of the country. And the ministers of Territorial Administration and Communication, Tanganji Paul and Rene Mandosadi, respectively, condemned the protest move as illegal. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. The government of the Republic of Cameroon has condemned the protest move orchestrated by the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM political party, which came second in the October 7, 2018 presidential election. The party of Professor Maurice Kamto orchestrated a strike action protest move in several towns across the country, in the nation's political capital Yaoundé, in the economic capital Douala, in the west regional chief town Bafoussam, as well as in Banjul, in Budanchang, in the west region of the country. And the protesters took to the streets in their numbers, protesting against electoral hold-up and of course the Anglophone crisis and what has been qualified as the illegal exploitation of resources of the country by a clique of individuals. The protests met with stiff resistance and the repression from forces of law and order, and according to the Ministry of Communication, 6 persons were injured in the economic capital Douala and over 117 arrested in the different towns where the strike action took place. And the Minister of Territorial Administration, Tanganji Paul, has warned that if the party continues in the same line of action, it will be sanctioned and possibly banned, as the strike actions have been qualified as illegal. Take a listen to Tanganji Paul.
The CRM political party and its leadership have been very notorious. We can no longer tolerate those who undermine the laws of the Republic. As I said earlier, the activities of all political parties are governed by laws which must be respected scrupulously. If you read, these are the documents which were distributed in Douala today by the MRC leader and their sympathizers. They went around recruiting young Cameroonians, paying them 5, 10, 20,000 pounds to go and distribute these illegal documents. And what is very conspicuous here, they are talking about no to the electoral hold-up, yes to the recount of the ballots. Today we are the 26th of January 2019. How can we be talking about the counting process after the elections, 4 months after the results were officially proclaimed by the Constitutional Council? I think that this is not serious, and we have to denounce this attitude. May I make this very, very clear. The CRM political party and their leaders should not take the leniency of the government as a sign of weakness. That will be a very big mistake. As from now henceforth, they will test the bitterness of our laws, which will be applied scrupulously. And the consequences are this can lead to temporary suspension of the activities of the political party or a total ban of the political party. As for now, I wish to confirm what the Minister of Communication earlier said, that the forces of law and order have been very professional in containing the public disturbances resulting from the illegal rally staged by the CRM political party. The forces of law and order did not use any firearms to maintain peace and order. Any contrary information is fake news, which should not be granted any credibility. The Minister of Communication either gave you the statistics of those who have been held in custody. They will remain in custody and will face the charges when the time will come. And as I said earlier, as from now henceforth, the law shall be applied. Break time is over. and justice will take its course.
And the Minister of Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, emphasized on the point that no live ammunitions were used against the protesters, contrary to information that had been circulating after pictures of some militants, notably Barrister Michel Ndoki and Celestin Njamin, with wounds on their legs, went viral on social media. They were wounded during the strike action here in the economic capital, Douala. And the Minister of Communication also indicated that over 117 persons were arrested in Yaoundé, Douala and Buda during the protest move. He also went ahead to condemn the attack on the Embassy of the Republic of Cameroun in Paris, France. Listen to Minister Emmanuel Sadi.
Through these demonstrations, the CRM intended, as usual, to push our compatriots at home and abroad to defy the Republican order with slogans of rebellion and insurgency against legal and legitimate institutions. It should be noted that all over the national territory, Cameroonians went about their business throughout the day in all serenity. Nevertheless, some attempts to disrupt public order and defy Republican institutions were recorded in the towns of Mbuda, Bafoussam, Yaoundé, and Douala. After making a fair judgment of the situation, the administrative authorities took the necessary security measures to preserve public order and bring the sponsors back into compliance with the laws and regulations of the Republic. In Yaoundé, Bafoussam, and Buda, several individuals caught in flagrante delicto, disrupting public order and perpetrating various assaults were arrested and placed in custody. 62 in Yaoundé, 42 in Bafoussam, and 13 in Buda. In Douala, the forces of law and order were positioned at certain key points of the town. Some participants in this illegal march organized themselves in a particularly aggressive manner and took upon themselves to face and challenge the security forces in the executions of their traditional missions of preserving public order. Showcasing restraint and professionalism, the forces of law and order went on to issue formal warnings that were unfortunately not followed by the demonstrations. This led to a few clashes during which the security elements made use of regulatory logistics. It should be made clear, on the basis of facts of absolute truth, that no live ammunition was fired. 7 people were arrested and brought back to the headquarters of the CRM at New Daido in Douala 1 subdivision. In addition, 6 persons were slightly injured, including 2 well-known activists. Abroad, 100 of CRM militants attacked Cameroon's embassy in Paris, France. After scaling the fence of the building hosting the embassy, they broke into the offices and ransacked everything on their way, causing huge damages. As we speak, these individuals have been taken out of the premises by the French forces of law and order. The government strongly condemns these unacceptable maneuvers to destabilize Cameroon under the false pretext of an alleged electoral hold-up. Let us recall that Cameroon is and remains a rule of law, where the devolution of power is done through the ballot box and not through violence or street demonstrations.
Cameroon's Minister of Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, speaking there, and the militants, supporters and sympathizers of Professor Maurice Kamto's Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, were protesting, amongst other things, the Anglophone crisis that has continued deepening in the two Anglophone regions of the country, and the civil society activists and other critics have condemned the repression used by security forces to disperse the protesters, notably in the nation's political capital Yaoundé and here in Douala, where several militants, notably over 6 of them, including Michel Ndoki and Barrister Michel Ndoki and Celestin Jamin, were wounded on their legs, as we can see in those images there. And of course, the police used tear gas and other weapons of repression to disperse the angry protesters who were equally protesting against the deepening Anglophone crisis. And in the report coming up next, a Northwest correspondent Stella tells us how the Anglophone crisis has paralyzed academic activities in several institutions in the Northwest regional capital, Bamenda.
As a result of the Anglophone crisis, which has been ongoing for over 2 years, is one of the reasons why some institutions of the Northwest region have been forced to postpone or even halt their activities. The National Polytechnic University Institute of Bamenda is one of those learning institutions which has been hit by the crisis. The institution has suffered threats, kidnapping of its lecturers among others by gunmen. As a consequence of the crisis, students of the 7th, 8th and 9th batches graduated on the same day.
2016, when the crisis that are leading to the commenced. And it's a reason we didn't have been very smooth. And so, even though we were running at the place, we've managed to get there this time around this year. We're ready to combine 3 years of succession to have the student appeal. That is something we learned from.
It was indeed a day of joy for these graduating students, despite the challenges they faced during the entire study period.
There were days we actually ran out of school, but I thank God for our lecturers, because even at times we would remain home, and because of their pressure we are forced to come to school.
We could not afford to come to school on Monday. Monday is which we already know that is ghost town, so we do not get the reach to come to school on those days.
Despite these challenges and more, the idea of not lacking behind has been the driving force of both the staff and students of the institution. Getting these certificates is not enough. Dr. Christopher Apana, Vice Chancellor of the institution, tells the graduating students.
The challenging world in which they find themselves it's not enough to have a certificate. So we have to take that certificate and the skills you acquire and to use to galvanize society and people to benefit from what we have.
Sitting in for the Minister of State for Higher Education, Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique calls on the graduating students to be ambassadors of the institution. The National Polytechnic University Institute of Bamenda is one of the legacies of Pa Young Francis, whose vision is to reduce unemployment among the youth by providing them the professional education and skills needed for jobs and job creation.
And it has become an uphill task for journalists who are operating, functioning in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Practicing journalism in those parts of the country has become more or less a death trap, a reason why a non-governmental organization recently brought together some female journalists in the northwest region to equip them with tools that will enable them to function in the northwest region, which has become a very difficult terrain. Stella once more reports from Bamenda.
Our main objective was to equip female.
The mass media is often considered as a powerful tool in the life and functioning of any nation. In Cameroon, some journalists in the crisis-hit English-speaking regions have described their main role of passing information to the general public as challenging more than ever before.
On the 17th of January 2017, I was mercilessly beaten up by police officers who later on dumped me in their truck, used my body as their footrest, and threatened to lock me up. It's by the grace of God that I was free from that situation.
I had to watch some stories without reporting them, and that was so painful to me because I could not say the things I see. I could not say the things that are around me because you are maybe afraid or you have been called upon not to talk anything concerning the crisis.
In order to meet the needs of female journalists in particular, Sister Speak 237 recently organized a 3-day workshop on hostile environment reporting for female journalists.
Our main objective was to equip female journalists with the skills and the tools necessary to report conflict effectively. Most of the women who attended this workshop have testified that prior to the workshop they did not have enough skills and the tools needed to tell the stories from the conflicts in the communities where they live. And we were also very keen on getting women's voices and reporting the effects of the crisis on women. These stories have been absent from mainstream media narratives, and we want to mainstream gender and conflict reporting.
At the end of the workshop, participants attest their time was well spent as they are bringing back more equipped with techniques on minimizing the risks of working in a hostile environment like theirs.
This has been 3 days of enriching knowledge. We have been given so much information on how to report during a crisis situation like what we're facing presently in the Northwest and Southwest regions. I'm going back as a brand new conflict reporter.
Equipped with techniques on staying safe online, personal physical safety in crisis zones, conflict reporting, mainstreaming gender in conflict reporting, among others, the female journalists have taken the commitment to make the difference in their reportings.
And the crisis has crumbled economic activities and, of course, enterprises in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country. And one of the companies highly affected by this crisis, the company has practically been brought to its knees, is palm oil plantations in the southwest region of the country. And the general manager of that company, His Majesty Mekanya Charles Okon, who is the traditional ruler of the Bera people in the Indian division and the Indian 1 section president of the CPDM political party, spoke to the Inside. Take a listen.
2 of our brand new tractors we got from Emidizel. A tractor cost 25 million francs, you know that. 2 new ones were bent with their trailers. So those 2 we lost close to 60 million francs. The bent is a sub-mill that we had in Bai. A sub-mill cost us close to about 25 million too. That one went away with the oil which was there, which we were waiting to transfer to Lobe. Now it didn't end there. They now came to Lobe. Another group came to Lobe, asking us to pay money to give them support, as they call it. And when we resisted to tell them that we were not doing such things, they went and blew off our dam, water pumping dam, the dam for filtration dam. We work with water, a lot of water. The factory, the palm oil factory, works with a lot of water. When it was blown off, there was no water to run the mill anymore. They were chasing the workers out of the plantation to work. They didn't want the workers to work anymore. They blocked up the offices, and
we're sorry for the poor quality of that element. We'll be coming back to it in a subsequent news edition. And the people of the Indian division think that the new Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph Jankute, is the square peg in a square hole. With his mastery of the situation on the ground, they believe that he's going to bring a solution to the ongoing crisis. And that's why they recently came out in that part of the country to thank the President of the Republic for appointing one of theirs. Take a listen to Chief Mekanya Charles Okon and, of course, Njome Tanda.
It is but normal that in such occasions the population comes out massively to give support and appreciation to the head of state for what he's done for the people of Indian division. not as Nigerian per se, but for a man whom everybody knows is a gentleman in all aspects, par excellence, because he's proven his worth throughout his life in various areas where he has held posts in the government and in his private life. He is one of those who we hold in very high esteem. I would tell you that he is one of the persons who has built up the image of palm oil. He is one of the biggest smallholders of palm oil. He's gone through thin and thick of the area. He went to school in that area. He went to primary school, from primary school right through his secondary school. He knows very well the problems of the people. He has been with the grassroots all the time.
Our people of the Indian Division have come out to thank Papa Biya, the head of state, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, for having appointed one of us, one of our sons, one of our illustrious chiefs, Prime Minister. We have long been expecting a full-fledged minister in the Indian Division. Our patience has yielded fruit. This time around, the appointee is not only a full-fledged minister, but a prime minister. So we thank President Paul Biya for his thoughtful selection of the person he has appointed prime minister.
Those were the traditional rulers in the Indian Division, Chief Mekania Okon Charles and Chief Njome Atanda speaking there. And now we're going to talk about the awards or prizes received by Equinoxe Television. Over 12 of them out of the 24 that were in contest, prizes that have been received by Equinoxe Television and the presenters for excellent work. Details in this report.
12 was the number of awards that Equinoxe TV and Radio picked up at the second edition of the Media Truth Award Night, which was to recognize media organs and journalists for their efforts in informing the country. For his second year running, Mimi Mefo picked up the award for the Best Female Presenter of the Year.
It's a feeling of achievement. But I think it's a bigger challenge, because when you receive such an award, it's like a signal to you that you have to keep working hard. And those who trusted and believe in you to have voted you, to elevate you up to this level, they are expecting a lot from you. And I see it as a challenge to work harder, play my role as a journalist objectively in informing the society on what is happening in the country, to make sure that I can have such prizes more and more in the future. An
award, she says, is to boost her morals as she continues to perform her duty as a journalist.
I want to seize this opportunity to thank the management of Equinoxe for the opportunity that they have given and they have continued to give. I want to thank all my colleagues at ETV, the technicians that have always been there at the background, making sure that we project ourselves and bring out the talent in us. I want to also thank those who believed in me and voted for me, that this lifetime opportunity that you are giving me, I'm not going to misuse it. I'm going to make good use of it.
Cedric Nufele also clinched 2 awards at the Media Truth Night. First as the Best Male TV Presenter and Journalist of the Year. Reasons why the organizers of Media Truth had them talk on their challenges and the effects of social media in our present generation. Apart from these two, the morning breakfast show on Equinoxe Television, Cadence Matinal, for his second year running, was voted as the best morning show. Its host, CJ Gladys, says the team spirit got them the trophy.
Pour nous, c'est une véritable marque de reconnaissance.
A great job by the team in this breakfast show, who will always want to go further to search for their viewers.
Vraiment, c'est une très belle équipe dynamique qui va toujours chercher un peu plus loin pour faire plaisir à nos téléspectateurs.
Equinoxe TV's Maxelen Gansop won the award of the best reporter, and the winner says he needs to add his effort.
Je suis peut-être à mon 6e ou mon 7e prix.
This award is peculiar because I'm celebrating 10 years with Equinoxe TV and radio. So I think that this award that I'm getting for a second consecutive year running is a call for me to work harder, and knowing that not everyone voted for me, I have to add more effort.
Je prends l'engagement de continuer à travailler comme si j'étais à mon début.
The Media Tooth Award night also saw programs like Equinoxe Soir of Serge Alain Otto, Dix Douze Le Zénith of Eric Foposi, and Parole de Femme of Julien Gay, clinching awards in their own categories. Equinoxe Television also won the award for the best TV station that covered the October 7th, 2018 presidential elections effectively. But what must have caused the strength of Equinoxe TV, an admirer tells us,
Equinoxe avoir reçu 12 prix sur 24.
Equinoxe picking up 12 out of the 24 awards shows that Equinoxe has interesting programs that gets the attention of all.
Voter également les journalistes de par la qualité des programmes qui sont proposés.
Notwithstanding the awards of Equinoxe TV, the organizers of Media Tooth, who removed Equinoxe Radio in the category for the best radio of the year, attempt giving a reason. According to Paola Nungyai,
la radio n'a pas été retenue, mais c'est pas pour ça qu'elle n'a pas été plébiscitée.
Equinoxe Radio wasn't nominated, but most of our voters requested for them. We just wanted to bring to limelight some other radio stations that are still getting their feet on the ground.
Ça a été beaucoup plus ancienne que les autres étaient. Peut-être l'occasion de donner la chance aux jeunes radios.
With the 2018 awards now in history, the biggest challenge is for Equinoxe TV and radio journalists to work more harder to get more trophies during the 3rd edition of the Media Tooth Awards.
And this is where we're going to wrap up this edition of the news. But before we go, over 100 militants of the CRM political party are now converged at the Douala residence of Albert Zongang, who has been under house arrest since morning as a result of what has been happening in some parts of the country. And of course, he has been under house arrest, and there is tension at the residence of Albert Zongang. We have been joined by one of the officials of the CRM political party, Silvanus Tifu. He is the Deputy National Communication Officer. Silvanus, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot, Babylal, Jonathan, and thanks to the televiewers of Equinoxe TV. To be very frank, the residence of Albert Zonga is currently being encircled by the forces of law and order, and you can, if you go there presently, you get about 150 militants of the Cameroun Renaissance movement, and many are going in to really get what is happening there. It's as a result of the peaceful march that was organized all over the national territory to protest against the ongoing war in the northwest and southwest region, because militants of the Cameroon Renaissance movement launched a peaceful protest, which you saw it happen in the nation's economic capital last 26th of January, where Maitre Michel Ndoki was shot at the hip here by the laps, 5 centimeters deep, you know, real bullet. We saw Celestine Germain also that was shot by...
But the ministers of communication and territorial administration said live ammunitions were never used against the protesters.
I was present there during the march past in Douala. I'm not from Yaoundé. I was there on Saturday. I want to tell you that we were at the hospital, at the general hospital, we're at Lucien Hospital, and from the diagnosis that we carried out there, I will tell you that we have photos and we have evidence. The bullets that were removed when Maitre Ndoki's legs was being operated upon, the bullets are still there as evidence. I tell you that is regrettable, because a march past that's a normal march that was organized, peaceful one. Militants went out to march without any arms in their hands, for that matter, and then you find police officers, gendarmes and other like, armed with guns and other like, shooting at people. I want to tell you that it is unheard of in our nations, and that is exactly what we of the Cameroon Renaissance movement have been decrying. The excessive use of violence by the military officers. Some of us are asking ourselves...
The government authorities say your protest was illegal. claiming that you didn't obtain authorization, you did not declare.
Babla, I want to tell you that
according to the law.
Yes, I want to tell you that we submitted over 350 letters asking for authorization. That's declaring our march pass, and I want to tell you our march. And then in most of the divisional offices where we deposited our demands for a peaceful march pass, I tell you that the divisional officers did not even sign to show that they receive it. If I have to tell you, you find that it's a kind of a Machiavellian way to prove to the entire public that we did not deposit anything. We asked them to sign to show that at least, even if they are not going to authorize it, let them sign to show that they collected it. They didn't. And if you look at the
another issue is that the Minister of Territorial Administration at Tanganji Paul, for example, does not understand how after 4 months after an election won by President Paul Biya, your party is asking for a recount of the results.
It is a legitimate claim. I want to tell you that if they said they want the elections, why wouldn't they ask for organize a recount of the election? Because we started asking for a recount before the proclamation of result by the Constitutional Council, and the CRM asked the Constitutional Council to permit them submit facts that would permit the recounting of the elections, which the Constitutional Council turned down every request. So if you look at it, what we did yesterday is a legitimate claim asking for dialogue, political dialogue to take place, and that the excessive use
solve the Anglophone crisis.
Solve the Anglophone crisis. And then another thing is the march was organized for us to ask to pressurize the system in place to carry out reforms on the electoral code. And then we also wanted the system in place to, because there is the AFCON 2019 scandal that saw about 1,200 billion that were just mismanaged like that, and we saw some of the ministers that were implicated in the mismanagement of the AFCON budget. Instead of being sanctioned, they were promoted from simple ministers to minister of state. So we had to stage this protest, asking the state judges to call them to book and then question them. If they are guilty, then they should be severely chastised. That is exactly what we did. And I saw nothing wrong with such a march. And to be very frank,
after Saturday, what next?
After Saturday, I want to tell you that most political parties, the SDF, which I want to assure you, and the UPC and all the rest of the political parties of the opposition are giving their support. They tell us that they will rally their militants behind the Cameroon Renaissance movement to go in for a very gigantic march so as to pressurize the system in place to end the war that is going up in the northwest and southwest region. Military option is not the best, and also we want to call the restoration forces also to drop down their weapons and then give a good ground for dialogue, because enormous lives has been shedded. And to be frank,
Sylvanus Tifu, you are the National Deputy Communication Officer of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. Thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot, and we want to plead upon all the militants of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement to remain calm, because we know that it's presently hot at Abed Zonga's place, because His Excellency Professor